right? I mean, you have to have a fire. And some students do. I mean, not all, but then not all teachers do either. They don't have a fire. But it's really a joy when you do have students that know what they want and are more or less self-motivated and just need the opportunity. And I think that's what a school should provide.
River Falls had a lasting influence on me for a number of reasons. What really gave me was openness. When I went there, I was a pretty closed-minded young man with really specific notions of what music was and, more importantly, what music wasn't. What that experience did for me is it showed me that there's validity in an incredibly vast range of music. And experimental things done with sincerity and done with a sense of the history of music have a real validity.
The department here at River Falls is strong in new music because of the personalities who believe strongly in the philosophy that is behind creative art. And we believe in the principle of the individual being able to search their souls for creativity. And Conrad and some of his other colleagues, such as Bob Samarato, have been important in fostering an attitude saying, okay, let's try it. Let's not make judgments beforehand. Find it within yourself what your creative impulse is. And so I think it's the strength of the personalities that have been present in the department.
Why doesn't the whole audience just get in a bus and go out to Highway 94 and sit in the ditch and listen to traffic for 45 minutes and then get back in the bus and come back? And I thought, yeah, I'll show you, Conrad, And he thought it was a wonderful idea.
How do I explain the relationship with the illicit? I don't know. I mean, what an interesting group of people, huh? I don't mean to embarrass anybody with this, but I mean, they're terrific. I mean, I'm very, very fond. I know not all of the people of that group well, but of course the River Falls people, and one person who's sometimes been a member of that group, and had good times together, making music and as friends.
I think the fact that we all share Conrad in our backgrounds as a sort of compositional mentor and as a person who, again, going back to the notion of openness.
And feeling free to experiment.
Yeah.
Even to experiment within the idiom of the so-called jazz style to bring in other influences. Conrad really, I think, instilled that.
It was in the Illicit Sextet that we started composing.
I remember one time in particular, it was at the Valley Pizza. We played a first set of standards, and we came back the second set and played our own music. And we were just looking at each other afterwards, and I think
there was no comparison.
We were just convinced, I think, that was the proper avenue.
As far as Dave Roos goes, he's a very interesting guy, and sometimes it was just trying to second guess what it was he wanted to do. but his pieces were always growing. You know, he was very willing to try something else, and they always kept getting bigger, you know, bigger and bigger. In some cases, it could be personal references to things that he remembered from, say, his father or the sounds of television. In other cases, he's a very political individual, too. So there's a certain unhappiness with the way things are in the world, and it's been with him for, I think, a long time. Makes him very interesting, rich culturally. Have also a very sharp musical sense of humor. He does some unexpected kinds of things that will bring a smile to my face as I hear them.
I remember once I wanted to write a piece where I used, my father was a machinist, and I remembered as a kid listening to the radio in the machine shop. So I wanted to do a piece that incorporated mechanical tools like electric drills and saws and grinders, and Conrad was real open to that, and he let me write a piece with that and perform it.
Dave writes quirky, unusual tunes that sort of stretch the parameters of what we do as a group.
I was influenced by a lot of different people, mostly jazz musicians, mostly jazz saxophonists, really, and John Coltrane primarily.
Steve Kenny's work with computers is also influenced the definition of new music, or jazz, if you will, or improvisation. I'm very pleased about that, and it's unique work. I hope he continues and tries different solutions and so forth with the technology.
My take on Steve's writing. I almost see Steve as a tune writer. He writes tunes kind of the way Thelonious Monk writes tunes. But one thing someone asked Thelonious Monk, you know, what's the main characteristic of your music? And he said it's logical. And I find that really instructive about Steve's music. I think, you know, Steve is also a computer scientist in addition to being an excellent jazz musician. And I think his music has a logic.
I don't think anybody can really say why they are what they are. One of the reasons I gravitated towards jazz is because I miss too many notes to be a classical player. Jazz is the most fun music on earth.
always been interested in composition, and I would hear things that I would hear things in my head that I thought would be intriguing to jot down on paper without really thinking much beyond that.
Spontaneous kind of making music through his instrument kind of thing. And that discipline of writing notes, he wasn't comfortable with it yet. And I'm interested now in knowing that he's doing that as he's working with the Illicit Sextet and so forth.
As I started writing more material, writing more things down, it was sort of a continually increasing sort of thing, where I would find that just writing some things made me want to do more. There's sort of a notion of practicing in composition too. The more of it you do, the easier it is to do.
I don't know that I'd feel comfortable trying to, say that this is Kelly, Bucheger. That's kind of, maybe it's best not to, because if you do that, then he might think about it. It's sometimes you don't want to think about what you're doing. You just want to go ahead and take a few chances.
Quite recall when I first met Conrad, but I do remember a story about a new music performance here. The piano is supposed to be painted robin blue, and it's supposed to be burned, and of course in order to burn a piano you have to do it in a place that permits it in terms of the fire laws. So it couldn't be done in the concert hall. Well, it turns out that in the fall there are restrictions on burning leaves. So when he asked to burn a piano for a musical composition, there was some hesitation about it, and then they decided to go ahead and say, well, okay, this is a one-time thing. The concert took place, and when they were able to light the piano, and of course when the piano gets very hot, the metal frame begins to twist and the strings begin to snap and pop, and it makes quite a sound, in addition to quite a visual thing. The concert being done at night, of course. And this political statement, if you like, has become somewhat famous. And I think that's how I first heard about Conrad.
Strange for me to talk about Conrad and how he influenced my development as a jazz composer if I were to say that, Conrad showed me, how to do this chord progression or this thing, because Conrad didn't do that. Conrad would just call me to his office and he'd say, listen to this. And he'd have an album of something, He'd put something on and he'd go, what do you think? What do you think he's doing? Conrad wasn't worried about teaching me chords and things. That kind of training was happening anyway. Conrad was really opening up my ears, and that has, I am truly and sincerely indebted to him for that, for opening up my ears, giving me a sense of the vastness of possibilities in music.
Get very emotional about it. I miss it a lot. I miss the students a lot. There's a lot about teaching I don't miss, but still, as that aspect I do miss. I've actually thought a great deal about it. It's a nice kind of legacy. Okay, it's nice to remember.